Welcome back to another episode of Titans of Foodservice. I'm your host, Nick Portillo, and today I have the distinct honor of introducing Welcome back to another episode of Titans of Foodservice. I'm your host, Nick Portillo, and today I have the distinct honor of introducing a remarkable individual whose journey is a testament to resilience, leadership, and the power of making a difference in the lives of others. My guest today is Eric Goodman. Eric embodies the spirit of never giving up, the strength of unwavering leadership, and the boundless compassion for helping others. He serves as the president and CEO of Mountain View Services, Inc., a leading healthcare supply and distribution company that extends its reach to over 500 care facilities for the developmentally disabled adults and children, home care facilities, hospice care companies, nonprofits, schools, care centers, and homeless shelters. His mission is not only to provide the highest quality products and services, but also to empower his clients to deliver the highest quality of care to those they serve. Beyond his corporate endeavors, Eric is a fervent advocate for building community relationships. He has served on the boards of prominent nonprofit organizations, including the American Heart Association and Ronald McDonald House, leaving an indelible mark of generosity and support. In recognition of his unwavering commitment to the betterment of society, Eric received the Unforgettables Foundation Heart Award of the Inland Empire in 2020. His dedication to community building also earned Mountain View Services the prestigious Civic 50 honoree title in 2022, signifying their place among the top 50 community-minded companies in Orange County. That's incredible. Adding another feather to his cap, Eric was honored with the Cal State University of Fullerton Center for Leadership's Award for Corporate Responsibility in 2023. Moreover, his dedication to excellence and community values culminated in Mountain View Services being named Orange County's Family Business of the Year at the OCBJ's annual Family Business Awards in the same year. Mountain View Services is not just a company, but a reflection of Eric's core values: caring, dependable, and honest. His belief in the power of community shines through in his model. Together, we can all make a difference in our communities and the lives of others, and his philosophy that the more people we meet, the more people we can help. In a world where individuality often takes precedence, Eric reminds us all to be yourself and showcases the profound impact one person can have when they dedicate their life to making the world a better place. Please join me in welcoming the remarkable Eric Goodman to Titans of Foodservice. Eric, welcome to the Titans of Foodservice podcast. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to meet with me and learn a little bit more about your story. We've known each other for a few years now, and I've always been very fascinated with you, your business acumen. You're very charitable. So thank you for taking time to meet with me.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Excited.
Of course. Yeah. So maybe for those out there listening, maybe a little background on yourself. What's your business? Let's start there.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm kind of a unique one in your food service industry field. So this is probably going to be a one of a kinder, since I don't think you're going to interview someone else with a similar business on your
That's
pod.
right. That's right.
So the company is Mountain View Services Incorporated, MVS. We've been in business for 35 years this year. Based headquartered out of Newport Beach, California. Distribution centers are in the Inland Empire, Redlands, and San Bernardino. And so for the last 35 years, we've been providing full line grocery service, medical supplies, and janitorial supplies to about 500 group homes for developmentally disabled adults and children. So funded through Medi-Cal and Medicare. These are 6-bed residential care homes where a developmentally disabled adult or child would live, and provider would take care of them. And then we deliver all of their food. So everything the grocery store sells, bread, milk, eggs, cheese. My distribution centers are full line stores. And then on our trucks, we also deliver all the medical supplies that you'd use in a hospital, full line medical supplies. A lot of our consumers eat by feeding pumps and tubes for their nutritional supplements. And then we do personal supplies and janitorial supplies. So as far as I know, in the 35 years we've been in business, at least in California, I believe I'm the only company exists that does food, distribution and medical supply distribution on the same truck.
Yeah, you have a very interesting niche, and I've had the pleasure of visiting your facility and learning about your business. It really, I mean, you really dominate that space, and you do good work for people too.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very, very niche. I know when you and your dad came out and toured our operation and looked at it, it's hard for people to grasp that I sell full line groceries, and then they get there and they see it in person and they go, "Wow, you sell you sell groceries." Yeah, we sell groceries, just everything the grocery store sells, but we deliver it on our own fleet of trucks to these
Hmm.
group homes every week. So obviously the consumers in the homes that are developmentally disabled, they are reliant on our service to provide them all of the products and services they need. So we take that very seriously, and we really care about the patients that we're servicing.
And what's the frequency of delivery in a week?
Once a
Like,
week, so every week,
once
every
a week.
7 days. Yeah,
Gotcha.
so we go to a group home, different areas. So we're in 7 counties in Southern California, basically from like Santa Barbara down to the coast, all the way down to the Mexican border, and then out to Indio, up the high desert, and then back around San Bernardino County,
Yep.
Riverside County, Orange County, LA County, Ventura County, San Diego County. So we'll go once a week, deliver them all their food, all their medical supplies, all their personal supplies, their janitorial supplies, and then the following week we come back and do that all over again.
You mentioned that the company's been around for 35 years. How was it started?
That's an interesting story too. So my partner, who's since passed away, actually owned about 65 of these 6-bed residential group homes
Mm,
for developmentally disabled adults and children in Southern California. From the 60s to the 80s, he was in about 5 counties. So in 1988, they opened our current company, Mountain View Services, as a distribution arm for their care facilities. So no business plan, wasn't set up to be a company. It was just going to be another one of his entities that was going to support his care home operation.
mhm.
And then fast forward to today, 35 years later, we're servicing about 500, a little over 500 of these 6 beds rich residential care facilities. We don't own or operate any facilities anymore. The family's since sold those off.
Mhm.
And it just came out of one provider would call and say, "Hey, we saw what you're doing for your facilities. We love that. We think it's a great idea. Can you service ours?" And then the business was just built overnight by that.
Yeah.
35 years later, we're still here.
And I think it's hard for, any competitors to get into the space because don't you set the menus
We
and you
do.
build out the packets for the people living in these homes?
We do. So we do the menus with dietary staff. We do the menus, have them approved. They're state of California Heart Healthy approved menus. And we provide the food based on those menus. All of our homes eat family style. So they sit down for dinner and we feed them their breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We don't sell pre-made food. We just sell groceries and then they prepare the food off of our
Right.
menu. And then all of the other supplies, yeah, but it's very niche. And I think for somebody else to enter our space, as we're well aware, being in food and having refrigerated product, whether it's storing it or distributing it or on our trucks, it's very expensive to
Mhm.
handle for a very low profit margin.
Right.
So we make it up in volume. And then the medical supplies and the other items we sell kind of sets us apart. But I just don't think the ROI for somebody to try to enter our space and work with the facilities we have, we were able to do it over a long-term period. But for somebody that was going to do as an investment, I don't think the return on the grocery refrigerated investment would be a good return.
Right. What about somebody in these homes? Let's say they're a celiac and they can't eat gluten. Do you cater to that or no? Whatever the menu is, the menu
Yeah,
is.
no, so the menu, we cover all that. So any special dietary restrictions we're covering. So we're doing, it's our heart healthy approved menu, as I mentioned, but we're doing controlled calorie count diet. We're doing weight gain, weight loss. We're doing it for diabetes. We're doing it for celiac disease. If they have gluten-free diet, we address that. So our dietary staff meets with their team and addresses all of the client's individual needs, and then we base the menu per client based off of that. We have a set menu and then we adjust it. And then we deliver all the food based on their specific requirements.
Gotcha. very fascinating how I mean how this business came to be and what it is today. I mean, you and your team have done a fantastic job.
Thank you. Yeah, and I had partners, as I mentioned, our founder, Don, he passed away in 2014. And then our CEO, who ran the company for many years, passed away in 2012. I became an owner in the business. So I've been with the company 29 years. Actually
Mhm.
started with our company in outside sales, was director of sales, vice president in 2015, and I ran the company from 2015 to 2020. And then in 2020, we had the pandemic,
Mhm.
which you can imagine. I'm in food distribution and I'm in janitorial supplies. So
Yep.
no toilet paper, bare shelves. So I lived through that era of owning a company that distributed all those products. So in 2020, my two partners who were left in the business decided they wanted to retire, and I bought them out of the company in 2020. So I've been sole shareholder of the corporation since November of 2020. So that's
Wow.
kind of when we took a different direction. Obviously, COVID changed a lot. You know,
Yeah.
our service was definitely valuable pre-COVID, but then post-COVID, it became extremely valuable because we're delivering all of the supplies to the facilities and they're not having to go out and buy them. They weren't standing in line. They weren't waiting for toilet paper to be restocked on the shelves. They weren't running out of food. I'm proud to say during the entire pandemic, we actually delivered to every single one of our facilities and never shorted one facility and an item during the entire pandemic. We were able to supply everyone, which was, looking on back on it now, I don't know how we did it, but miraculously somehow we did we did it. It was a miracle.
Yeah.
We were able to provide to everybody, and so now today our service is obviously very coveted because now that people live through a pandemic, they know what it is to have to go source those items and get them. And we were doing PPE, and we already sell the gloves and the masks and the face shields and the protective gear. So
Mhm.
all of that ramped up heavy during COVID, which actually we're having another small insurge right now.
That's right.
So we've been doing some of that recently. So we're still working through that. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey to get to where we are today.
I would imagine your customers probably are well connected to one another. And did you see your customer base expand coming out of COVID? Or were there other homes that said, "Hey, I want to work with you"?
Yeah, we did. We had so during the pandemic, we had a waiting list of about 100 facilities who wanted to
Wow.
start service with us during the pandemic. Because obviously, once that hit and they knew what we did, they started calling saying, "Well, can you deliver to our facilities?" I had to make a really tough decision during COVID. I opted not to bring on any new facilities for about
Mhm.
2.5 years. Because what I decided to do was, we have customers that have been with us all 35 years we've been in business. They've taken care of me. So during the pandemic, I decided I needed to take care of them. So basically, we were on allocation, like everyone in the food service industry was. Luckily, because our consumers are so high risk, most of the manufacturer partners and our distributors were providing us product before they were providing it to the grocery stores, which
Mhm.
was amazing. During the pandemic, you experienced it and you know what it was like. I had 1 week that we received about a half a truck, and that was the only week I was shorted during the entire COVID pandemic.
That's unheard of
Because
too.
yeah, I mean, the trucks just kept rolling in. We just kept getting truckloads on truckloads because the partners that we had knew the clients that we were serving, and they knew they were at high risk. They couldn't leave their homes. They knew that their acute care was, very high, so that there was a concern that if they did catch COVID, it would be deadly. So we continued to get product, which was amazing. But then the other thing that was really shocking to me, and it just shows how strong our community is, especially in healthcare. But a lot of our providers were calling me and saying, "Hey, Eric, I've got a little extra of this. Do you know somebody that can use it?" Then I would call providers and say, "Hey, I talked to so and so, and they've got extra, gloves or gowns or masks or extra food. Can you use it?" And, "Oh yeah, I need it." So we would go to one facility, pick up stuff, and take and deliver it to another facility, and we did that for a better part of a year, uh, because we were all working together, right?
Mhm.
So one of my facilities had a need, the other one had excess, and they kind of used us as the distribution to kind of fill those needs.
Mhm.
So we were just every day on the phone with providers. "Oh, what do you need? Oh, you need this? Okay, let's make some calls." And we would call 10 other people and say, "We have an urgent need for this. Do you have it? Yeah, I have extra. I can give it up." And then we would go 3 or 4 places. And yeah, the people just really pulled together, and our industry as a whole really supported everyone. And they let me be the person to kind of coordinate all that, which was really amazing.
What is something you learned about yourself through that whole time?
I don't know how I did it. I looked
Because
back
this
at it
was
now. I tell my
not
wife that all
easy.
the time. I'm like, I look back at it now and I go, I don't know how we survived. How did we do that? Um, I learned, you know, I learned that you can't control things. So
Mhm.
you have to just do the best that you can to take those circumstances and, act at the time. So every day, when the pandemic hit, I'd never run a large food distribution company during a pandemic. None of us had. I didn't know what to
Right.
do. That morning I woke up and it was, Armageddon driving from Orange County to the Inland Empire to my office. There was 3, 4 cars on the freeway and I'm driving and going, where's everybody at? What's going on? What's going on? Why is everybody off the road? And then I get to the office and it pulled the team together and I said, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what we're going to do, but we've got to continue to provide products and services to our
Mhm.
developmentally disabled, consumers in these care homes. So let's go. And every day we just had something happen and we would just address that need as it happened and we would continue to provide services. So it's a miracle that we were able to do what we did, but we made it through it.
Yeah. And then what about in present day? What are some of the challenges that you face here in 2023?
So actually, the supply chain for us has been worse in 23 than it was in 2021 and 22. We actually,
Oh.
maybe not so much on the food side, but definitely on the healthcare side, the supply chain issues have been harder on us this year than they had been the previous 2.5 or 3. Um, there's been a national shortage on baby formula. Well, that affected
Mm.
us. There was a there's a national shortage on baby diapers recently. Excuse me. So that affected us. There's been national shortages since the end of 2022 in regards to intro products, formula like Ensure and
Mhm.
products like that. So that's affected us. In the consumable space, paper goods, and we do a lot of adult diapers and baby diapers. There's been raw product challenges with them getting the materials they need to make the product, and then the labor shortages have still been huge. So then that affects the product availability because of the labor to provide either manufacture it or distribute it.
Mhm.
So this year has been a real struggle with us. We've had our issues with our own labor force, getting employees to work and stay, and then
Mhm.
getting product delivered. The revenue has fell off quite a bit this year only just because of the supply chain issues. We just can't get enough of the product in to distribute it.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about I think when I visited you, I think that might have been a couple of years ago now, you were mentioning about warehousing, like just having enough storage for everything. What does that look like for you now?
Yeah, so we've expanded into a second space now, and you and I were talking about that a little before we got on this call together. So recently acquired my father's company,
Okay.
who's a paper good and chemical manufacturing company based out of the Inland Empire, and so he had large warehouse space. So we've moved into that second space now. So we're in 2 distribution centers. Where originally, when you visited, we were just in the one.
Hmm.
So that's helped. We recently just upgraded our fleet, so we brought in 4 new trucks. So that puts us at 10 refrigerated trucks now that we're distributing out of, and then 3 dry trucks on his side. So distribution has definitely expanded and the space has expanded. So we
Hmm.
have to buy a lot of the product now in larger quantities and then hold it and then distribute it out, where before we were just pretty much stocking like month to month.
Got it. Got it. That makes sense. How has it been taking over your father's company?
That's been an interesting. You work with your dad. You
I
know,
do.
you know how family businesses are. It's been
Yes.
so my dad had owned his company for about 37 years. We've had our
Wow.
company for 35, and I've been here for 30 of those 35. And he decided this year that he was going to retire and was thinking about selling the family business or maybe just closing the doors. And so, excuse me, we talked and I decided, it was his legacy. He built it from the ground up. He started it, he founded it. It's our family's name. And I didn't want to see equity firm come in and buy it, make changes or or have the family not involved in the business. So I decided to, oh, my lights went out. Excuse me. I got, hold on one second. Turn it back on. There we go.
There it
I've
is.
got no motion in the office. It didn't see me moving around, so I thought
Yeah.
I'd left it. It was just shutting down. Um, so he retired, and I took over control of the company and shares. So two separate corporations, companies. Excuse me. Through here, running separately, but it's been a long journey because working with family, as you know, with your dad,
Hmm.
it's great that we talk every single day and we see each other every single day, but then you have that family dynamics of there's no time where it's not business, right? I mean, you see each
Hmm.
other every day, you see each other at night, you see each other at family functions, but then you got the business involved because you work together.
That's right.
So it's a blessing, but then, it's a challenge. Running a family business is like anything, it's tough.
Yeah, my dad and I definitely have that. Is when we, when we're working, obviously we're on work, but then it's Christmas morning, or it's we're just hanging out on a weekend, and we're talking about work and like what do we want to do next, and building the company. Like, it's just naturally this is what we talk about. Sometimes we'll talk, not work, and just talk about current events or sports, whatever, and at the end we're like, that was kind of nice.
It always
um,
revolves around business somehow.
it does, and everything always draws back to that. It's just, I think, like yourself, we're passionate about it. It's something. It's thrilling. It's adrenaline pumping. So, we just naturally, or maybe we're just addicted to it. Who knows?
I think probably both. I'm in the same boat. And then so my son is involved in the business. My daughter's involved in the business.
That's right.
My son-in-law is involved in the business. My wife's currently started helping out at the business, and then now my father. So we have three generations currently involved between the two companies.
I mean, that is the American dream right there. Your kids, what are their roles in the business?
So my son actually lives in New York City and has a full-time job, but he does our social media marketing,
Hmm.
which he's able to do remote, which is great. My daughter has a degree in marketing and graphic design. So she runs our marketing department, and then she has her own business on the side. She owns a dance studio and teaches dance.
Wow.
My son-in-law works as a pilot,
Hmm.
actually, and has a full-time job, but he's able to work with the company, does a lot of remote work for us, obviously, because he can do that when he has his downtime traveling.
Hmm.
My wife helps us out in the finance department, working with our CFO and the finance team. And then my dad, who was the president and CEO of the company on his side, um, he's currently going to do consulting for us where he's going to help out with purchasing and procurement because he obviously has 40 plus years experience in that, and then also with our sales team because he's always done sales with the company, so he'll
Hmm.
help us out with that. And then
Yeah.
myself as the CEO, and people, now that we're a family enterprise of multiple generations over a very short period of time, even though both companies have been in existence for a long time. We were an overnight family business. They'll ask me, well, how does it work with so many family members now involved in the business? And I always tell them it's very simple. It's a dictatorship. I'm in charge, and everybody else in the family works for me. But seriously, we all get along really well. It works out really good. It's a good family dynamic.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. What about looking into the future of maybe the next 5 to 10 years? What are some things that you want to accomplish?
So we recently opened up a foundation, which I think you're aware of for the
Yeah.
company. So we opened up our MVS Foundation
Okay.
in 2022 with Orange County Community Foundation here in Orange County with Shelley Haas and her team. So we now have a company foundation. I do a lot of charity work. I'm on some boards. You and I have been together on the American Heart Association Board of
Mhm.
Directors. I'm currently on their board of directors. I know you and I have served on a couple of their committees for their events
Yep.
recently, which is how we met. And then I'm on the board of directors for Ronald McDonald House Charities. I've been
Hmm.
involved with that board. This is my 20th year with Ronald McDonald House Charities on their board of directors. So I wanted to take some of the charitable work that we do and extend that out to the community because we've been blessed and we have a business that can help others. That's our every day. Our mission is to provide products and services to developmentally disabled adults and children. So obviously, there's a great need, and we provide a great service. So with that foundation, my goal is to network with other nonprofits, which we've done a lot with the last couple of years, which you're aware of. And
Yep.
so we have about 100 or so nonprofits that are currently buying products and services through our company, medical supplies or janitorial supplies, school supplies. Like we recently did the backpack drive for the Boys and Girls Clubs in Orange County and others like that. So I want to build out that foundation to use our resources to help nonprofits anywhere. It doesn't have to be in Orange County, it's just where I'm based. Anywhere where they can either use our network to help their charity, or we can help them secure product and savings, or we can just help them share their cause, tell people what they
Mhm.
do and get other people involved like you and I. But then there's a lot of other amazing charities that do amazing things that both of our companies support. So I want to just long term use my foundation to make more connections in a nonprofit community, find out where there's need and see how I can leverage my company and my resources and my connections to like you and your father to help others. That's my long term goal.
I love that. And so those listening along, Eric is very one. You're very active on LinkedIn, and I think you might be one of the most charitable people that I've ever met.
Thank
And
you.
good for you for that. And you're just making a true difference in our communities. And it's something that I've always admired, and you inspire me. And on the topic of inspiration, what got you when you look back when you started getting into helping out these charities? You mentioned the Ronald McDonald Foundation being there for quite a while. What was it that you said, I feel so inspired, I want to get deeply involved in charity?
Yeah, so if you're on my LinkedIn or if you're following me, I share my story very publicly, and we've recently had a few events in Orange County that you've seen that I've shared
Hmm.
where I've spoken, told my story. So when I was 15 years old, I had a life-saving surgery at Loma Linda Children's Hospital, um, where I had back surgery,
Hmm.
and they fused my spine and put metal rods in my back and plastic ribs, and I was in a full body cast for almost a year.
Wow.
So it's a very long story, but the shortened version is I had to have physical therapy to learn how to walk again.
Hmm.
I had to be homeschooled. So having a physical disability, and I had that disability from when I was about three, when I started wearing leg braces, till I was 15 and a half when I had the emergency surgery. And then now being 31 years later, I've been pretty much health free. I mean, I'm still disabled by society standards, but I'm functioning.
Yeah.
So that's what got me involved with the Ron McDonald House, was because I knew what those families of those kids went through at the hospital because I was there.
Hmm.
So that's what started my work with Ron McDonald House Charities, was I wanted to give back and help the families that had been through what I had been through personally, what my family had been through, caring for me for almost a year in the hospital in a full body cast. And then just as I continued to build and grow the business, I never really connected the dots that we were providing services to developmentally disabled adults and children. I mean, that was just my work. And then a few years ago, Jay Golding, my storytelling coach that I've done some of the speaking with publicly and shared my story on LinkedIn and kind of crafted a little more, he's the one that kind of connected the dots and said, your entire life's work, the last 30 years, you've been caring and helping for people with disabilities, and you yourself had a disability. And I said, well, yeah, that was the reason behind it, but I never realized that was my mission, right?
Hmm.
And then when I realized that that was my life's work and my passion, and I think my existence on this planet is to help other people.
Wow.
Well, then I started looking at it and I thought, well, gosh, I have all this in place already. I have the business, I have the distribution, I have the network, I have the connections. I have these boards that I said I know these people. How can I use this? All this that I've been gifted with. How can I use this to help other people? And then about a year or so ago, that's when it really took off, that we started publicly sharing my story and the company's story, and then
Yeah.
started, going out to nonprofits and saying, how can we support you? How can we help you? And it took off like crazy. And our nonprofit network now is huge. And as you said, you see what we do. We do a lot,
Hmm.
but we do it because it's the right thing to do, and the need is there, and I can help. Opposed to, I think sometimes businesses will partner with a charity for the right reason because it's the right thing to do, but more that It's just I have some resources. Where can I throw it? I'm going to help somebody. I got to do some good in the world. But if we
Right.
actually invest the time and we sit down with those nonprofits and we say, what do you really need? How can we help? Let me open my Rolodex. Let me make some phone calls. Let me call Nick and his dad. They have an amazing business. You have a food need. How can we fill that food insecurity? I know
Mhm.
you're working right now with one of the nonprofits that I connected you with, Julie
I
over
talked to her
Teen
today.
Kids. Yeah, to see how we can help her distribute her lemonade for teen kids. But we're in this meeting and we're talking and we're saying, okay, what can we do? How can we make an impact? How can we distribute the product? Where can we get it? And I said, Nick, we got to call Nick.
We gotta call
He's got to
that.
be involved in this. Nick and his dad, like, this is their business. This is what they do. This is who needs to be involved at the table. And then, I
Yeah.
contacted you, and of course, you willingly said yes, I'll help. I don't know what that is yet, but you agreed to help,
Yep.
and you talked to her today, and see, it's things like that that's going to make a difference in our community, opposed to us just sitting back and watching others, do it.
Yeah, in my conversation with Julie earlier today, we talked about the food service industry, kind of had the distribution network and how it functions and set up. I gave her some recommendations for some distributors to contact to potentially partner with. And then she also needed help with formulation of her product, extending shelf life, things like that. And I was like, I have the perfect person for you. So I connected those two together. So like the chain just continues. And every time you surround yourself with somebody who knows that specific topic, in this case, creating a product for mass production, you get closer and closer to the goals and objectives you want to achieve. And it all started with your conversation just a few weeks ago.
Right. Well, and when I met Julie, I mean, I know food distribution, that's my background, but I don't know product marketing, placement, and
Mm-hmm.
resources. And then so then when we talked, and I thought of you and your dad, and then immediately connected you guys, and you connected her to somebody, it's just going to come full circle. And obviously, if we can help that charity,
Yeah,
that would have been an expense of theirs, that would have been time on their end. And it would have been probably an uphill battle to get there. And between a phone call to you and a phone call to somebody, and we probably fast tracked her a year on getting headway of stuff to go, but it was all through our connections, which is what it's
that's
all
right.
about.
What about for the people out there who, in present day, they don't do any charitable work but would like to? What advice would you give someone, starting out?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot, especially when I speak and do stuff. So, two things I think have to go with being involved with the charity, especially if you're a business and you want to start giving more back and doing more for the charity. The concern that I had when I first started, and I think a lot of family businesses or smaller businesses think, is I thought, well, I can't compete with a Fortune 500 company. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
I can't give like they give. I can't write a check for $1 million and hand it to a charity, and I can't make an impact. So I think a lot of smaller businesses or family businesses hold back on giving because they feel like they can't compete with other bigger organizations, other bigger companies. And what I
Mm-hmm.
found was it's amazing the impact that a smaller family business with connections, real connections,
Mm-hmm.
people like we just talked about that know people, can make things happen so much faster than a big corporation can. I mean, you're not going to call a Fortune 500 company and have a meeting with the CEO, and then they're going to set up a meeting with one of their vendor partners, and they're going to set up a meeting with their distributor and do what you and I just did in an afternoon.
Yeah.
So I think we can actually make a bigger impact if we get involved. And the other thing that I just has always blown my mind is I share what we do on LinkedIn just to get the word out and tell other people, you can do this too. You don't have to write $1 million check. You just have to find a need in your community and help fill it with the resources you already have. You already have the company. You already have the connections. You already know people. And I'm always amazed at how many people will message or call me or contact or comment on my post and say, I didn't realize that until you pointed it out. That's amazing. I can do it. And I connected with so and so, like you with Julie and Teen Kids. And the next
Mm-hmm.
thing you know, you have this amazing relationship. So I think it's just a matter of realizing that even if your resources are small, you can still make a huge impact through your network if we all work together, which is how I've been doing it. And then the second part to your question is what charity to get involved with or how is you have to have passion for that cause. I survived this life-saving surgery when I was a child, and I know what I went through, and I have massive passion for families of kids and or people that are disabled because it's my why. So if you find that source, all of us have a family member who was affected by cancer or a heart
Mm-hmm.
condition or child or all kinds of things. Find that that thing in your life or family's life or business that has that why and that passion, and then it'll be so easy for you to get involved. I mean, it's just, you're going to be amazed that you're going to get involved, and then you've experienced it yourself personally. I know you know this, but you got involved with the American Heart Association, and every single family and friend that you have now, they're involved in the American Heart
That's a good
Association.
point.
So if anybody would just step up and get behind something you're passionate about in some charity, you will be blown away with how your family and friends, and I know you can contest to this, are you're going to say, they all got behind me. Everybody
That's
gets
right.
behind me. And you make a huge impact, but one person has got to start it for everybody else to do it. And that's kind of what I've been trying to lead, is just do it, and then, it'll happen.
Yeah, that's very well said. You hit the nail on the head. Is when I got involved with the American Heart Association, then I had my dad, supporting me, and then my family, my immediate family, then extended outside of that, and my friends, they see me online or I'm talking to them about it. And so that impact of when I got in, I was like, I don't know what to expect from all of this. What can I give in terms of, time? But I found that the one, you just feel good after doing all of that. And two, as you mentioned, the impact is incredible. And it just makes you want to do more and give back as much as you possibly can.
And I bet you never realized when you started or got involved that you'd have that many people support you as much as they do.
That's
And
right.
then once you're willing to put the word out on LinkedIn and on your social media posts about your involvement with the American Heart Association,
Yep.
people naturally just gravitated to help you because they're supporting you.
Exactly. Yeah. That's absolutely true. When you look back at your time working with charities, is there any significant moment that sticks out to you as one that it's a memory that you hold very dearly to your heart?
Um, so I started with kind of like you with the American Heart Association. I started with the Ronald McDonald House Charities very young. I
Yeah.
was 21 years old when I got involved. I was president of their organization for 3 years. I was the youngest president of their organization in their company's history,
Wow.
in their charity's history. So I learned, we were a governing board when I started, and then we transitioned to a fundraising board during that time. So I went from running a large multi-million dollar charity where I was signing checks and I had staff reporting to me. So I was working my own business and I was doing this nonprofit that was
Mhm.
almost like a second full-time job because it required just as much as my day job did, to transitioning into capital campaign, and then 20 years on the board. And looking back on it now, when people ask me or I talk about it, I'm amazed at how much of the things I learned from running that charity actually transitioned over to my business life, and that
Right.
those things that we discussed in those board meetings and the way we ran the charity is just like we run the business.
Mm.
And I think far too many people think of a business as a business and a charity as a charity, and they say, "Oh, a charity isn't a business." A
Hmm.
charity is a business.
Yeah, it is.
Any way you look at it, a charity is a business. They've got revenue, they've got employees, they've got a product. Like, a charity is a business. So that's some of my connections have been so amazing with some of these nonprofit leaders, like Dawn Reese at the Wooden Floor, who's an amazing charity partner of mine, where her and I will meet and talk about how to run her business, which is a nonprofit, how to run my business, and how they're so similar, but yet the public sees them as so different.
Hmm.
So my biggest takeaway has been, if you get involved with an organization and you're on the board or you're just on an executive team, like when you helped us lead at the American Heart Association executive leadership team, that so much of that is transferable to your business, or
Hmm.
so much of the business is transferable to the charity. You don't really think about it, but it really, really is a really good foundation and a building block to support, to do both. And I think that's why for-profit leaders do so well in the nonprofit sector, is because we have the background of running a business, but then we also have the experience of working with the nonprofit. Oh, my lights went out again. There it goes. Definitely wants me to close that. So yeah, that's always been my biggest surprise or wow, is how integrated the nonprofit world and the for-profit world are together. If you're in business and you're working with a charity, how much of that is transferable between the two, and
Yep.
that you can really help a lot of people with that experience.
Yeah. Eric, every time I talk to you, you just inspire me. And I love just kind of how you broke down, your business and how you got into it, and working with the charities, and how it all is intertwined with one. And I hope people listening to this, get more involved, give back to your communities. There's so much value to that, on top of just feeling good.
And I have to share, well, before we go over this together. So when I met you and your dad, and I know I've shared this with you before, but I'll share it publicly. So you guys came out and toured my operation. We talked because we'd met through the
Yep.
American Heart Association, told me about your business and about your food brokerage and what you guys do. We've been in business, so 35 years this year. We've been in business maybe 33 years at that point or something like that. Always considered ourselves to be very family orientated business. Team that's been with me a long time. I've got one manager, been with the company for 35 years. Our senior management team of 13 are all about 20-year plus employees, with the exception of a few. And when I met you and your dad, I could not believe the family that you guys had built in your business, just the way you guys ran it and did it. And one of the things that you guys shared with me, which I know I've shared publicly, but I don't know if you guys realize what a huge impact you had on my life and how your business changed my business, was you guys' values, your core values.
Yeah.
I mean, you explained to me what your core values were, and you stood by those core values, and you guys talked about them just in everything you did. And
Yep.
I was so impressed with the way your core values led your business. I was like, these guys are onto something. Like, I
Yep.
feel like I have a good business, and I feel like I know how to run it, but I just don't feel like my core values are really representative of my company. And I changed them like within the next few weeks. I came up with our core values. I've shared them on LinkedIn every single day for the last couple of years. Caring, dependable, and honest. That's my company, and that's my personal core values. Is we're caring about what we do. We're dependable to the people we service, and we're honest about how we go at business.
Mhm.
And ever since I've done that, I lead my life and my business now. My customers have to fit those core values. My employees have to fit those core
Mhm.
values. My relationships have to fit those core values. Charities have to fit those core values. And I've been living by that the last couple of years. And that was because of you guys, because of you and your dad. You guys came up with that. I took me some soul searching to figure out what the core values were. We got them in place, and ever since then, I've been leading my business every single day with those values. And it's because of you and your dad that I did that.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That is
I'm
so
serious.
cool.
You guys made a huge you made a huge impact on me and my business after I met you guys. Your sense of your values were so strong. Like I don't think I could have broke the values away from you two if I tried when you
Yeah.
shared with me your business. I'm like, they are living this every single day. Like their
Yeah.
values are so important to them. Mine were too, but I wasn't leading my business with those values. And now that I am, it's been a changer, and it's because
Yeah.
of your family's business that I did that.
Oh, why, thank you. Yeah, well, I remember when we first made them, we got pulled out the whiteboard marker and the whiteboard, and we wrote down each of our employees' names and just started like giving positive adjectives about each person. And then we started to look at like what are some similarities across each of these people. And then we found, okay, there's four things that all of these people have in common. And so moving forward, anybody we hire have to have those four things. We want our team, we're spread out into Southern Cal, Northern Cal, Nevada, Hawaii. Everybody in business is faced with tough decisions at some point. In our business, you might be in front of a customer who's just mad at you, just yelling, and because something didn't go right. And when that person's up against the wall, we want them to make the decision that aligns with the core values. It's very important to us. And you're right, we try to share them anywhere we go.
Yeah, give me your core values.
So we're a family first minded company. So we, as much as we love Portillo sales and marketing, because we think it's a great place to work. Our company never comes before any of our team members' families. That's priority number one. If we have to give, bad news to a client or a customer that, this person needs to take time away with their family, then then they need to go do that. So we're family first minded. And then our second one is integrity, essentially what we say we're going to do. Passion is our third one. We look for people who have just a true deep passion for what they do. And then the last one is reliable. It's being reliable to one another as a team. We like to view ourselves kind of like Sparta. it's, or in the movie 300, you have 300 Spartans all standing shoulder to shoulder fighting thousands and thousands of the Persian army. And if you're reliable to one another like they were in the movie, you can really hold off and defeat the enemy, or in this case, move the sales needle.
Well, and there's so many times, I mean, my business had a mission statement, which we've had for
Yep.
35 years. We had our vision statement. I don't think a single person in my organization could recite to you my mission statement or my vision statement. I probably struggled with my mission statement myself because it was too long, had too many words, it said too much. But it had a good, we had a good why, but it wasn't executed well.
Right.
And then a lot of businesses have values and they post up those values and they share those values, but I never met anybody who hardcore lived by those values. And I met
Yep.
you and your dad, and you guys came to my operation. And I was following you on LinkedIn. And I'm like, they seriously live by these values. Like they're going to die by these. And so that's when
Yeah.
we surveyed our team and
Yep.
we surveyed our customers and we had them tell us what things they thought of when they thought of Mountain View
Smart.
Services. Like, what comes to your mind when you think of our business? And so that's how we came up with our three, the caring, dependable, and honest. And then, I've just set that as part of my mandated to run the organization is everybody has to align with those values, or then it's just not a good partnership
That's
because
right.
we have to have shared values to go together. So, but I just wanted to share that with you and your listeners. And I know I've
Yeah.
told you and your dad that before, and I know
Yeah.
I've posted on LinkedIn, but I don't know if you realize how much of an impact you two really made on my business and my life. And you really did. You guys, you helped me tremendously. So thank you for that.
No, of course. Thank you so much, Eric. That truly means a lot. Well, I want to just say thank you for taking time out of your day to meet with me and share your story, be vulnerable, go deep. I've really enjoyed our conversation as always, and I know it'll resonate with a lot of people listening. So thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me, and I'm glad that we're in the food service industry together, even though it's a little different. I think I fill a
That's right.
very unique niche, so I'm glad that we can get our word and our story out there. And if you or anybody that your listeners know of any nonprofit organization or for-profit organization that you think would be a good fit for us to partner with, please let me know. I'm always telling my team and anybody I meet, the more people we meet, the more people we can help. So I need to meet people and make those connections to be able to help more people in our community.
And what's the best way for those that do want to get involved to reach you and your team?
So if you want to LinkedIn me, it's Eric L. Goodman, ERIC, middle initial L, and then Goodman, Goodman. And or if to connect with you, I'm sure you'll connect them up with
Yeah.
me to give them my email address or my number and we can connect.
Fantastic. Eric,
Great.
thank
Nick, always good to see you. Tell your dad I said hi. Great working with you guys. You're doing amazing things.
you so
Look forward
much,
to
Eric.
talking. All right. Bye-bye.